right, welcome to the Crazy Ralph podcast, episode number 2. Today we are talking locations. I'm your host, Jason, and this is...
Your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete.
All right. Just a little bit of a setup for this one. We kind of touched on it in our reviews that one of the things about Friday the 13th, I think a big part of the reason why certain people really are drawn to this franchise and love this franchise is the setting of this franchise.
Yeah.
I always say if you have a cabin in the woods and you screw that up, then that's on you, because that setting lends itself perfectly to an amazing film, whether it's comedies like Meatballs or if it's, horror films like Fridays. This setting for me is as good as it gets. Pete, what about you?
Yeah, the setting is really important. Like before we started, I was talking about it. Like the camp is the real main character of the Friday the 13th franchise. Because if you say Camp Crystal Lake, you're automatically going to think of Jason Voorhees' Friday the 13th. Someone may say Elm Street. They may not go to Nightmare on Elm Street. They may just think Elm Street where they grew up or something like that. Or Haddonfield, they may not be familiar, but Crystal Lake is synonymous with Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees. So getting that setting right, you want it to be believable.
Yeah.
Like not CGI, I mean, nowadays, but like you don't want it to be on a set or a soundstage. You want to see the woods behind the lake and everything. So it's like it's really as important as who's playing Jason as is where you're shooting this film.
100%. That's an excellent point. And I couldn't agree more. And again, like every Friday the 13th, with every certain criteria or subject matter, different settings were selected for these movies, and they register all differently, and some worked and some didn't. Um, you know, I, I, I'll just explain kind of. So what we'll do, we're going to talk about the locations that we love. We'll probably touch on some things that didn't work, but we're not going to really spend too much time on that. We're going to talk about the locations that we love after, when we're all said and done. Uncle Pete with a brilliant idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to build our ideal, our dream Camp Crystal Lake. And what that will entail is we will pick a lake from all of the films, a shelter, one that they, presided in for the most part, just to define shelter, what that means, in this case, woods, and then we have 2 add-ons, and the add-ons could be anything. It could be a car, a scene, or whatever. It could be anything that we want. So we're building our dream Camp Crystal Lake using the 12 films, realistically probably using about 5 of the films, but if that. But anyways, you never know. So that's going to be really, really fun. We have no idea what each other are going to say. We actually kind of just, discovered what we're saying. We kind of put together our list just before the show. So this is going to be a fun one.
Yep.
And the fun doesn't stop there. Once we're done talking about camps, we have a second segment, which is called If They Survived. And this is another fun one. Yeah. We thought it'd be really, really funny. What if they survived? What if the characters that we love or don't love survived their experience at Camp Crystal Lake? What happens to them? And we each have 2 characters. We'll talk about those characters a little bit later on, who we have, and yeah, I think it's going to be a real fun to see what happens to some of those.
To that one.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So that's what we're all about here. We're about having fun, celebrating Friday the 13th, and episode 2. Let's go. Locations.
Yep.
I'll let you lead off, Uncle Pete. You look like you're dying to talk.
So, like I mentioned, like Crystal Lake, it's the main character of the film. Like when someone hits me with Friday the 13th, what's the first image that goes in my mind? It's the first one that we saw. Why that location is so Alice in the canoe. It's crystal clear, Crystal Lake. It's nice, calm lake, and she's just sticking her finger in the water, like relaxing. Then you get that ending. It's one of the most important locations in horror. that Crystal Lake. It's got so much to it, you have to get it right. So, I'll start with the first film. That's the lake. That's the lake I think about. Nice, crystal clear, and everything. In the canoe, Jason's underneath it. You don't know whether it's old Jason or little Jason. That's it's just important. Now, number one, and another part, number one, it feels like a camp. We don't see kids, but we see camp activities like the archery range. It's the only time we see stuff like that. And that archery range is just when it's pouring down rain, lights are on, you can't
Yeah.
really see much, lights are in your eyes and stuff. That's a great scene.
Love the archery range. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just location is so important to these films because
Yeah.
like any other horror films, it could be on the soundstage because a lot
Yeah.
of these kills are outside.
For
You go
sure.
to like Saw or any horror film, it could be on a soundstage.
Yeah. Yeah. For
That is
sure.
not going to work with Friday the 13th. Halloween, sure. Nightmare on Elm Street, yep.
Yep.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre even can work on a soundstage. You can't put Friday in a soundstage.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that, and I love how you brought up, Brenda's kill, which I think is, like, one of the creepiest kills that gets overlooked a lot. 100%, part 1, like, I love those dark woods. I love the lived-in feel of the cabins, right? Like,
Mhm,
it was a real functioning, camp, and you could tell,
mhm,
and that is huge. Like, the great storyline to get around the kids. We're setting up before the camp, starts, and yeah, you look around, you look on the shelves, you look at the way things are hung. You knew that, they didn't spend a lot of money on set design. This was all there for them, and it shows.
yeah,
It's run down. That's the way things were back then in the 70s and 80s, before everything had to be pristine and perfect and
mhm,
everything like that. That's what going up north was all about. That's what it
yep,
looked like and felt like. And part 1, you could call it brilliant, but I think it was just because they were there at the time, and I love that. I love the feel of part 1. Yeah, just it's dark, but it feels like summer. It's the water's black, right? Like,
mhm.
it's just love that. Love.
And it has that secluded feel. A
Yeah.
lot of horror comes from that feeling of seclusion. You're not in a big city. You're not in a town like in Haddonfield or anything like that. Like you're secluded.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
maybe a couple miles, 10-minute drive away from the nearest police station, fire department.
Yeah.
That's isolating. That
Yeah.
that can build that fear and that tension. Like you just can't go to the fire hydrant, turn it on, and put out a fire.
Yeah.
You got so
Exactly.
much to that seclusion really hits with the Friday films.
For sure. For sure. And even part 1, staying on part 1 for a sec, is like, you know, where Blairstown Diner is, and
Mhm,
that diner, obviously love that diner. It breaks things up a little bit, gives you a little bit of a break from the camp,
mhm,
but it's far enough away that it's not close, but it's like, it's a town, and that's kind of like, again, coming, from Canada, like that's a big thing, right? We go up north in the summer, we get away, and I'm not saying we're the only ones that do it, but what I mean is that, like, it resonates, to go, and that's what you have those diners, and those diners
mhm,
are like about another 15 minutes away from, where your cabin is or your cottage is, so it kind of that one speaks to me a lot. It reminds me, I used to have a cottage in my area, there's up north, there's a Muskoka area, and it's a beautiful area. We used to have a cottage there when I was a kid, and I think I honestly attribute my love for Friday the 13th to that, that connection
mhm,
with my cottage, and just the good times that we had there, and I feel like that part 1 really mimicked the feel of those woods and the town and
mhm.
everything like that.
That's
So
why I love that diner. I love the diner aspect in films. Like
yeah.
even in the Malign, part 8 when they're in that diner because the diner it's got that hometown feel. Like
Hmm.
you got the same guy in the trucker hat sitting at a counter eating pie, drinking coffee, talking crap to the waitress, and they got this banter back and forth. It's that old town feel that it has
Yeah.
to it. Like all the locals see the new person walking in, they all stop, and you hear a pin drop and
Yeah.
everything. They all check it out. It to me, that's just like classic horror. It's classic storytelling that it really hits.
For sure, and it's like, yeah, you know, we got to I think part 1 did it so good, like, you kind of start off in that town, and then, you know, you kinda get locked into camp. Um, yeah, just, you know, I'll probably come back to part 1 a little bit, but, you know, I wanna draw a parallel a little bit to, that cottage feel, even though it was very, very different, it kinda still hits home was, part 3. I just thought, like, I know it was like there was, like, a barn feel, and I kinda touched on this before that, you know, like, part 3 was the first one that kind of went away from a camp,
Mm,
so to speak. You know, it was we were in a barn, right? We were in a farm, like, you know, and it was kind of like um but it worked. It fit. Like it wasn't like, you know, oh crap, we're not at Camp Crystal Lake. Like
mhm,
that didn't really kind of hit me. I think years later I was like, oh, you know what? Part 3 wasn't really out of camp. But it kind of fit well. And I feel like the town of like part 3 was really, really cool when they were kind of just driving there, and then you know, grocery store wasn't anything amazing, but it just kind of added a little bit of a vibe,
mhm.
you know, when they got to that house. And yeah, I love that house in part 3 as well.
Yeah.
um yeah, what about you,
And
man?
but, like, part 3, I have to bring up that barn.
Yeah,
It's just it's so I remember as a kid, like, it was on TV or something, I remember watching it, and it was the part where the biker, she's swinging back and forth, "Woo!" Just having a good time. I'm like, "Oh, cool, man. She's
yeah,
having fun." And then, like, the screen cuts to the other guy for a second, and it comes back to her, and you just see that rope.
yeah, yeah,
No sound, you just the sound of that rope swinging back and forth. Like you said, that barn made me not miss the lake
yeah,
in part
yeah,
3 because it's just it's so iconic the way it goes from number 2 into number 3 with the barn and everything. It works. I mean, number 3 and number 4 with the barn.
yeah,
It's like one of those, like, settings, the look like, this location hits. Like, if I
yeah,
just looked at the barn, yep, Friday part 3. You already know because you see the
100%.
loft up in top. And, like, they try to do it again in part 5 with the barn, but it didn't have
Yeah.
the same didn't have the same feel. Well, I don't hate part 5. You'll see that on our rankings. Um, yeah, it just didn't have the same feel as part 3. It's like I did like we said, it didn't make me miss the lake.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good point. Like, you know, take the barn out of part 3. Is it now missing something?
Mhm.
Excuse me. I'm trying to hold in a cough there. Yeah, is if you take the barn out of part 3, is part 3 as special as it work? I don't know. Um, but yeah, like, you know, just even in the beginning, like, you know, just, you know, pulling up the hay there, and Mary Jo and Conrad, a conversation there. It's just it kind of worked. It fit. It gave a fresh take, but not too much of a departure where you're like wondering what the hell.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the lake was a little bit, you know, subpar because obviously we know it was a fake lake, but it served its purpose. Like, you know, when I was before I knew it was a fake lake, I just, you
Mhm.
know, I thought it was just they didn't really use it very much, but whatever.
I mean, the
Y-
harpoon scene was kinda cool
yeah,
to get that 3D shot. That was a good scene.
yeah, but like even inside the cabins, it looked fun. Um, I'm really struggling here. Holy crap. We'll be okay. But anyways, yeah, so inside the cabins look fun with Andy and Debbie going at it on a hammock. Those rooms again look really
Mhm.
authentic and real. Like you knew it wasn't built for a film. That's what they had.
That's what I like about it.
You know, and it shows, right? Like especially in these low budget films that like, you know, once you kind of start building sets, it shows.
Mhm.
And yeah, I love 3. Love 3 for that one.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing I'll say about part 3 though, I think it I don't know, it did lack a little bit of, I don't know. I don't know if I miss the woods, if that's the right
See, I
word.
I had a sense you were gonna go there because to me, I don't wanna say it felt dirty, but it was too brown.
Yeah, uh,
Like like, I'm just thinking of the biker scene when they're chasing, like, as soon I we were on that same wavelength because it
Yeah,
felt too brown, not enough green. I want to see like, yeah, I want to see the leaves and everything, but I want to see green trees and everything. And
yeah,
it was almost like a little too brown. Like it was just like a bunch of dirt instead of the
love that,
forest.
love that. I agree with that 100%. Too brown. Just looking at my notes here. So part 3 was the one that was like, oh, and by the way, once again, shout out to Slick Slomopovich of Cabin 6 who provided some notes. I got addresses here for some of these, but that was Melody Ranch in Oak Creek. So you're in California. Is this anywhere close to you? Oak Creek Avenue, Newhall, California?
It's probably up around LA area, I would assume. I don't know. I have
Yeah.
to Oak Creek.
How far are you from LA?
An hour south.
Hour south, man. Anyways,
Yeah.
Spunky Canyon Road. That's the cafe. Cafe. Was there a cafe? Is that the grocery store? I'm wondering. Oh. Anyways, oh, Higgins Haven Cabin and Barn. Sorry. Okay, so that was not Melody Ranch. That was at Veluzat Motion Picture Ranch.
Oh,
Veluzat, I don't know. In Saugus, California. So yeah, that much I heard, and we um yeah. So, anyways, part 3 was a little bit of a departure, but I think it worked. There's times
mhm,
where they departured in the future, and it didn't work for lack of proper phraseology.
yeah.
So another location that you absolutely adored. I know you were talking to me about a couple.
It's just I love the woods in 4, like, when you see Trish and her mom running,
Hmm.
there's no doubt you're in the woods, and
Mm.
then you got their cabin, just the woods in 4 really hit home for me because it
Okay.
feels like the woods, like, there's leaves and it's just like it's like a not a dirt road, it's paved,
Yeah.
but there's no sidewalk to walk on, it's just you could picture somebody just hitchhiking, walking backwards, there's no lights, it's dark.
Yeah.
It gives you that secluded woods feel, like, whoever lives in that house, we'll be talking about on episodes, that house from number 4, it's a secluded area. I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably a pretty cool place to live if you like the seclusion of it, and
For
again,
sure.
it kinda brings in that isolation feel. I just the
Yeah.
woods of part 4 is what I think about.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think the woods have a little bit more of a polished look, but still really grainy and gritty, but kind of like a mimic of part 1, maybe like
Mhm,
a step from that, like, where it kind of comes back. I mean, 1 and 4, um, it's funny. I always feel like 1 and 4 could almost be direct sequels in some cases,
mhm,
in just the way the tone and the feel and the look and, Jason's makeup and everything like that. Um, I think, yeah, if I hear you on 4. Like, I think that was a really cool, again, just the woods look dense, the woods look
yep,
dark, the woods like felt, like the woods, and even when it was simple things like jogging, like you didn't have to be like when he pitches a tent and then he finds some funny stuff happening at his tent. That's all good. You turn down
mhm,
the sun and you show the woods, and it's always going to be kind of creepy, but even in the daytime it had that feel that you didn't want to be there. Even again, the hitchhiker just sitting at the side of the road,
yeah,
it felt right. It felt real. Like, it's funny how like nowadays when they do movies, like, just that feel and that atmosphere is just missing.
mhm,
And we're not talking like Friday the 13th had these massive budgets and these unbelievable talents working on these films, right? But they were able to capture things. And that's why, like, they get a little bit of a bad rap, all the Friday the 13th films. But no, I'm sorry. You watch some of these early films and they're
mhm.
done so well, and with,
It
of course, with some blemishes, but show me a film that doesn't.
It's
So
like the people still go out scouting for, like, movie locations because, like, from part 4 is you got the Jarvis house right next to the cabin, and again, that brings in that closeness. Because I love the scene where Tommy's looking through the window at the little hanky-panky going on in the
yeah,
cabin across, which is something totally a kid would do,
yeah, for
you
sure,
know?
for sure.
He's going down to the lake with his sister, they're skinny dipping, he's trying to peek and stuff, it's like what a kid would do, so It feels real.
Yeah.
Nothing feels fabricated in that
Mhm.
location. Like, it was definitely not a I think, because in part, in Jason X, when they bring up the simulation of the girls at camp,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
had a cold feeling to it. I
For
mean,
sure.
purposely so, because it just shows
That's
for that warmth that you get from, like, an actual, like, solid location.
yeah, yeah, and I love that idea in part 4, having the houses side by side,
Mhm,
having all the kids doing their stuff there and having the 2 places to go back and forth with, and, like, I thought that was really, really cool. Again, you didn't miss the camp.
mhm,
You know, that's one of the things that, like, Friday 13th got away from kind of quickly, was, going to camp, right? Part
mhm.
3 and part 4, and then part 5 wasn't in camp either. It wasn't until part 6 where they decided to bring it back to camp, and that was short lived too because after that, have they
And that
gone to
was
camp?
it. So if you
Yeah,
think about it, only 2 films yeah, only 2 films actually involve a camp. Well, 3. Number 1, they were at a camp.
yeah,
Number 2, they're getting ready. And then number 6.
yeah. Isn't that crazy?
So that's the only time that you're actually at a camp. That's why, like, I really don't think of Crystal Lake. I just think of Crystal Lake as a summer camp.
Uh huh.
I'm thinking it's more like the lake itself with the dock and there's a camp nearby. Because, like you said, that camp aspect is kind of a little overshadowed about everything else. Because only 3 films really talk
Yeah,
about kids at camp.
that's pretty crazy.
Otherwise, it's just like a summer vacation or a retreat.
I wonder if I've ever thought of that before. That there were so few at camp, Crystal
Mhm.
Lake. Like,
Like, if you wanna talk about camp horror movies, some people may bring up, like, The Burning or Summer Camp Nightmare
yeah,
before a lot of Friday films. Like, if you said, "Name your top 10 camp horror movies," yeah, the original would be in there, but you can pick another one.
yeah. But I think with Friday, it's kind of like just assumed, right? Like you say
Yeah,
Friday the 13th, you just assume it's a camp film,
yeah.
right? Yeah, a camp killer film. But when you break it down, yeah, okay, 1, 2, and 6 are, but really there's not a lot. There's shenanigans or camp adjacent, I guess. All these different
It's almost like camp
locations.
as in you can go camping vice a summer camp, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
sure,
Like in
yeah.
the remake, they're camping. They're not at summer camp, but they're camping so that they try and put a little of the camp into it, but
Yeah.
there's it just maybe I'm just realizing it solid. I'm like, "Yeah, there's not a lot of summer camp."
Yeah, no, I know. And I guess maybe the common thread is supposed to be the fact that, no matter where they are, whether it's part 1, whether it's part 4, whether it's part 5, there is a lake nearby, and that
Mhm,
lake is Crystal Lake,
yeah,
and that's supposed to be, the justification
mhm,
of Friday 13th. And you know what? And in a way, um, while we all love the camp and praise part 6 for bringing it back a lot. I think maybe that's a good move, right?
mm,
Moving it to different locations within the camp kind of kept storylines fresh as the series kind of
mhm,
progressed. As much as camps are great, you still knew it. You still bought into the fact that we were in Jason's land, which is, by Camp Crystal Lake. But,
yep.
here we are at a barn. Here we are at, a house in the woods, and a halfway house or whatever part 5 was. Like, so in a way, I think it was a good decision. It's just, yeah, yeah, maybe
Yeah, 'cause
again.
you really couldn't have 12 movies all about kids at camp. It
Well,
would've
you
gotten
could. They do that, but
you know
thankfully they did.
but, like, I think, like, there's a tendency that gets, stale if you
Yeah.
just did a repeat of for all 12 in a row.
Oh yeah.
Like, just think about the bad franchises out there where they don't change the location.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gets stale really quick. So, like, I can see them keeping you wanna keep Crystal Lake the central focus, but,
Yeah.
like, off season, setting up for camp, post
Yeah.
camp,
Yeah. Yeah.
rebuild, stuff like that.
Speaking of rebuild, part 6, they rebuilt it and it's
Mhm.
Camp Forest Green. We all know you love part 6,
Yep.
so talk to us about some of the locations in part 6, how they resonate with you.
That opening scene with the graveyard, it just
Yeah.
it's and I've talked about it before, that part 6 is that Universal Monsters feel.
Yeah.
to it. It's pretty much it's close to a Frankenstein story with Tommy resurrecting Jason. That Tommy didn't go dig him up, Jason, we wouldn't have zombie Jason.
Yep.
So it's got like a Frankenstein feel to it. You know, all the locations where Tommy's on the phone. Hey, meet me at Karloff's. All those little hit story. The but that graveyard scene is just so good. They dig him up.
Love it.
I mean, hey, why would you have a marked grave for a mass murderer? But hey, but then it just starts raining. You got Tommy and you got Horshack there, Alan. It's so good.
Forever
It's
Horshack.
dark. You know, it starts pouring down rain. It man, that scene hits, and then like it's smooth transitions. Tommy, he takes off running, runs into the sheriff station. Sheriff picks him up. Okay, you look like trouble. Take him back there. The grave's filled in. But then, oh, you got this little cabin over here where the daughter is and everything. She's got all of her friends getting ready for the camp. It's such a seamless transition through all
Yeah.
those. The paintball scene, love it,
Yeah.
love it. The guy shoots him a paintball. Jason just kind of looks down like, what the fuck? And just the way it felt big, but it felt like still enclosed, like it
Yeah.
just was all Crystal Lake. Just like
Yeah.
the transition from scene to scene felt very smooth to me, if that makes sense. It just
Yeah.
kind of moved really well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like with again, we praised Tom McLaughlin on the first episode uh for his direction in part six and making small budget go the distance and he did with that film and again yeah the locations it all fit it all worked
Mhm,
and it all created the world. And that's what you want you're gonna shoot out a sequence, you're gonna shoot locations here there and everywhere just to get by. I mean, the
mhm,
ending of Friday 13th Part 6 was shot in a swimming pool, parts of it anyway, and that's fine. Like, that because it all worked. And
mhm.
that's good filmmaking, that's good location scouting. And yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't have thought that that would be in Georgia. Because
Yeah.
again, you would think it's like more northern U.S. or even Canada, like the way kind of
Mhm,
the vibe of it. But yeah, part six was great. I definitely felt like the camp felt warm,
mhm,
spooky, felt real. Everything felt real in part six. Like, I
mhm.
guess you throw the kids in there too, but like, that scene where they're in the kitchen unpacking their food and stuff like that when the bus shows up, that was just it just had that vibe. You wanted to be there. Like, that and that's the best thing about Friday 13th films. Like
Yeah.
you kind of know the outcome of a lot of these characters, yet you still want to be there.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's a cool setting.
And it felt like they felt like camp counselors. You had the
Yeah.
little kids,
Yeah.
and the counselors felt like camp counselors. Like the
Yeah.
one guy who got killed in the RV, I can't remember his name. He was kind of
Court.
like a swarmy little smartass to the
Yeah.
kids, telling them how building a fire and stuff like that. Just
Yeah.
listen to me here. Then you had the girls who are a little uncomfortable. Oh, all these little snot nosed little kids, but we're gonna have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just and the way again, it's gonna go to a location is the way it edited from the way the edits go from scene to scene, like that one joke. Did they think I'm a fart? And then
Yeah.
jumps to the kids cheering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give more love to part six, just the way those locations all fit so well together.
Yeah. It because you felt like it was all done at a camp and surrounding area, and that's what you want. Like, you don't want any disconnect when you're
Mhm,
watching a Friday the 13th film. You want the seclusion, and if you can make that seclusion, because it's going to be creepy later on in the film, but
mhm.
if you can make that seclusion warm and inviting
Yep,
in the beginning, then you've got something. Because when you do go to these places, you don't go there to rent a rundown cottage with like you go for like the niceties of that
yeah,
lodge or that cabin or that cottage, and part six was that, right? It looked nice, it didn't intentionally look creepy. And the other thing I like about what, I'm gonna say this about a lot of the Friday 13th, something that I really have an issue with, and this is kind of moving off a little bit of locations, but like I love with part six that the counselors, they got along. Like they look like they were friends. They look
mhm,
like they were kind of like, and I feel like that's for the most part that's the case with a lot of the Friday the 13th films, and especially in the early ones. Whereas now, like every single slasher film, it starts off with a car full of teenagers, and they're all pissed off at each other, and they all hate each other. It's a trope that evolved, and it's the most
Yes.
ridiculously lazy writing.
It's exhausting,
Yeah,
and everybody's too pretty nowadays.
yeah,
Every
yeah,
every guy has to find some reason to take his shirt off, and they're all shredded. Every
yeah,
girl is just injected in this, and again, it's a you get the jock douchebag.
yeah,
You know, you get the guy who's too cool for school who wears sunglasses at night.
yeah,
You get the virgin wallflower. You get the
yeah,
whore. You get
yeah,
the tease. You get the nerd. You get the fat guy. It's just
yeah,
it's so paint by the numbers. But
yeah.
back here, like I said, it was a group of friends.
Yeah, right. Even in the story, it didn't have to, it didn't have to have them as friends because if you're a camp counselor, you go up there, you meet people for the first time,
Mhm,
second time, whatever. But like you didn't have to waste any time with people like with this like vicious kind of banter back and forth, and you're like, why are they even going there together? Like,
yes.
what's going on? Get like what? And that kind of drives me nuts. Anyways, the warmth of Friday the 13th to start the film is I think what something that really works. You'll always have your setup scene, whether it's part one, the opening kills, or
Mhm,
part two, Alice dying, or part three with where he gets his outfit there, and with that older couple. You always have that, and then it kind of warms up, and when it warms up, you're able to be let into the world, right? You're there, they're creating that world, and you're either driving up with them or you're
mhm,
hanging out with them. And I think that that's something like, especially again, in the early Friday the 13th, that really, really works. And, if you feel like, I want to hang out with these guys, then, like they did something right. And some of them you don't like,
mhm.
I didn't care to hang out with the people in part 8. That didn't look fun to me at all. And even part 7, even it was a big giant party, and they could have leaned into that one a little bit better. And but I was like, that's probably a party I don't need to go to.
And again, but they were mean to each other even in part 7. She's like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
Melissa." I was just
Yeah.
like, "Dude, why are you being a bitch to her? She just walked in the door."
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but, like,
Yeah.
it's important to create that warmth in a horror film, at least the camaraderie between the cast members and everything, because as the viewer, it builds that false sense of security. Like, you're watching a horror film and some,
Hmm.
horrible stuff's gonna happen, but you wanna feel that warmth first and get to know the characters, care about them, like some of them,
Yeah.
not hate every single one of them like it is now with horror movies.
Yeah.
That warmth is important because it gives that false sense of security, like, "Oh, this is nice little cozy camp, I like it here," and then bam, the horror happens. So, because you're not prepared for it. You're nice and
Yeah.
calm, and then the horror happens. Like in The Thing, granted, it's cold, but
Yeah.
you see the camaraderie and then the horror happens, it hits hard. If everybody was an asshole to each other, it wasn't
Yeah. I
warm and
know.
inviting, you're like, "I definitely wouldn't go there no matter what." So, it's not
Yeah.
gonna be as scary because you already said, "Nope, that's a big nope for me."
Yeah, no, no, for sure. And the thing, man, that opening, it's just like a 2-second shot, but I wanted to play ping pong with Blair, man. I was like, I
Okay.
wanted to be there. Sign me up. Alien, okay, I'll handle that when it happens. But right now, I
Yeah.
just want to hang out with these
I
guys.
wanna smoke with Palmer and Childs.
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say, have a drink with McCready, play some ping pong with Blair,
Oh, who would not wanna drink a glass of J&B
with
with McCree I
McCready.
mean, come on.
Yes, that's but we're kind of veering
Yeah,
off here, which is
but
gonna
I
happen.
think it goes to show you how important that location is.
100%,
Using The
100%.
Thing as an example, greatest horror movie of all time,
Yeah,
they nailed the location, so when you nail a location like a
yeah.
lot of films did with Friday the 13th, it makes the film more enjoyable.
100%. And make no mistake, if the thing had like, some different locations that didn't really work, like obviously, yeah, you're gonna have Antarctic white, but like, if the set wasn't, it was a little cheesier or
Mhm,
something, that movie would go down. Like, it's so important to nail the location, and set design is such an undervalued just aesthetic when it comes
mhm,
to making films nowadays. Like, when independent filmmakers, and granted, you have a certain amount of money, set design can't be everything for you. You have to make your dollars stretch, but you
mhm,
really want to focus on set design because Friday the 13th is a franchise that, has a lot going for it, and at the top of the list, as you said, is the locations, is the
Yep.
camps, and some of those are beautiful. Like part 5, it's not terribly bad, but
No,
there's something dirty about it. Like it's got kind of like this like a trashy vibe to it. Part 5.
because of that, yeah, the halfway house. So yeah, it does have a little bit of a like a trashy vibe to it, but it,
Brown, like you said, like a
yeah.
brown like look and feel. Yeah, like, it just kind of it doesn't register like the other ones, I don't think. Like in the first, like if we're talking the first 6 or 7, or 8, the go Mancuso era. Part 5's got a little bit of a trashy vibe, like,
Mhm.
even
Like,
the
even
woods.
the diner's a little trashy with the guys
Yeah.
that bald guy's picking up his girl. It's a little swarmy, a little
y-
like, okay,
ev-
not as polished, but I think that goes with the aesthetic of the film, what they were going for. Like,
Yeah.
is this Jason is dead from sure for number 4, so, like, who is this new Jason? And it was a halfway house, so what didn't have that homey feel. I don't think it was supposed to. Maybe that's why a lot of people don't care for it, because 5 didn't have that homey feel,
Yeah.
because you don't want to be in this halfway house. I don't want to be around these people. So
Yeah.
it kind of made you feel uncomfortable almost throughout the entire film, especially after when little boy got killed by Vic.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, this is a different feel to it, because that
Yeah.
wasn't Jason killing for revenge. This is some guy chopping wood who got angry because the dude got chocolate on him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, part 5 had a different, a direction altogether. Still had the same kind of grittiness as, like, part 4
Mm,
and 3. Still had the great score that mimicked the early ones, so that was the tie-in. But, if you changed up the score like part 6 did, and threw it on part 5 would have a really, really different feel. I think the thread was like, that score of the early ones was still very, very prevalent in
mhm.
part 5. I mean, even like I said, the woods, you go out in the woods and there's a creepy pervert guy watching, like, and it's just like, then you go to the neighbor's house with the like Edna, or was no that was that Edna, I forgot.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Yeah, like, and he hurt me, ma, and all that, like, kind of like trailer trashy kind of thing. Definitely just leaned into that, and it kind of had a little bit of a feel that I didn't love as much as some of the other
And
ones.
there wasn't a lot of lake in part 5.
Was there a lake in part 5?
That's what I'm trying. It's been a minute since I watched part 5, but I'm going back. I was like, I don't remember any lake scenes.
No, you're right.
Like, as far as like, no one got killed in the lake that I can remember. I was just like, there's a lot of wood scenes, like with the hedge clippers and
Yeah.
the band. There's not a lot of lake in
Not
part
even the
5.
flashback or the, like, when he was having those visions.
Mhm.
Yeah, there wasn't a lake.
Yeah, there's the asylum or a hospital he's in. You got the halfway house. You've got the diner and everything. You've got the barn,
Yeah.
the part 5 barn, but I don't remember a lot of lake.
I'm sure, someone will correct us if we're wrong, but I don't think that there's a lake in part 5.
I gotta go rewatch
That
now.
is pretty crazy. Part 6 was the first film without nudity. Part 5 was the first film without lake.
But with
Um
a lot of nudity.
but with a lot of nudity,
Yeah,
yeah. It kind of made up for part 6 if you like that direction. Yeah, that's funny because we were talking about that earlier, right? Like how you kind of didn't need to always be at a camp,
mhm.
but in that one you didn't even have a trace of water. But
But then
uh
again, part 5 is the outlier, since it's not part
yeah,
5 technically could have taken place anywhere,
yeah.
you know,
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see a real hardcore Friday the 13th fan create a map of and incorporate all the films.
how
And
they're all, yeah.
like maybe that's out there already and I just haven't seen it, or maybe an AI generator. We could probably do it ourselves. But I'd love to see a fan, just a real, who's got his finger on the pulse, his or her finger on the pulse, and just yeah, I would love to see that. Like, where's
Yeah.
part five located? Okay, that's why there's no water in that film.
Yeah.
It's there, you know. um, but yeah, yeah. So I mean, uh, touching on part seven quickly, like that was an example. If that movie felt like it was filmed in November or something, like it looked like they were like that Melissa when she was sunbathing beside her friend there. I
Mhm.
forgot Sandra. Um, I think it
It
was
looked cold,
Sandra.
like, you could
It
see the
looked, yeah.
goosebumps on him.
I
Like,
know.
the whole movie looked cold, and like, other than that scene, I'm always picturing it dark outside. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think 90% of part 7, it was dark outside.
It was like, I don't know if leaves were on the ground, but there was no leaves on trees other than
Mhm,
like, evergreens. Um, like it was just now, now I will give them a little bit of I'll give them a pass. I mean, technically, they were just going up in the woods to celebrate a birthday party.
mhm,
So it could have been November. It definitely didn't look like summer. It definitely didn't pass for summer. And that, in my opinion, hurts it a little bit. Not that everything has to be in summer. Obviously, I think, one of the prevailing dreams out there for a Friday 13th is to see Jason in the snow,
mhm,
in a feature length film. I think that would be really, really cool. It doesn't have to be like, perfect summer weather, but I just think it all kind of fits a little bit
mhm.
better when it's like warm outside and
Yeah, but go
looks
back and
like
watch that scene when they're sunbathing, you can see the goose flesh because it was
it.
probably cold as heck outside.
Yeah, that didn't look like what we were used to, that's for sure. But there was a lake in it.
Mhm.
So that's yeah, funny. Um Part 8, I mean, I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about him in New York,
Yeah,
but
somehow the Crystal Lake that somehow connects to the Hudson River that can get them to New York somehow.
again, we got to see this
I'm
artist
telling you.
rendition. We're calling for it. If you're out there, send it.
I
We'll
mean,
put it on our
so
show.
I mean, being a sailor, did 22 years, it, being on the boat is kind of like, okay, I'm kind of used to it. So I didn't get that claustrophobic feeling to it. I did it for 22 years,
Yeah.
but some of the kills were cool on the boat. I
Yeah.
like the guitar and everything. So a lot of it was kind of cool, but I think they were bad calling it Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
I mean, you could have
and
called it like senior prom or, Friday the 13th, whatever, school
yeah.
days, something.
Yeah.
I just, because the only part that was actually what in Manhattan is where he's in Times Square.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
all in
Yeah.
Vancouver, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely and I'll say, the look of him on the subway was kind of cool. Like
Mhm.
it was shot nice and it gave a good like, screen grab and there was some fun stuff in there, but like you're going through alleyways and sewers and it's just like it could be in Manhattan, it could be in Wisconsin, it could be in like Turkey. It didn't really matter at that point, right? And again, we talked about this. We won't get into that, but like as far as the setting, there were a couple of things in New York that were kind of fun, like seeing him, kick the stereo. I'm not saying that I loved that scene, but
Mhm.
it was definitely New York. Seeing
Yes.
his face on the big screen there was kind of tongue in cheek
For the
and
Rangers, yeah.
yeah, like that was kind of fun, like and I again I do like that look of him standing in the subway when like everybody's I thought that was kind of cool, but overall New York or the Manhattan part 8 really it lacked heart. It just like
Mhm.
and I'm talking even with the setting, right? Like it just mm, didn't really connect and again, the boat could have been creepy on its own. But
Yeah.
even the boat didn't really like, what was that boat? Was it like, I mean, it looked at times you see them boarding the boat and
Mhm.
then it looked when they were on board, it looked a lot bigger than it actually was. It was
Yeah,
just like
it had a ballroom in it for the party and everything. I was just like,
so
I don't
y-
understand what type of ship this is.
yeah, I know. So again, just so much just it was very misguided. Very,
Mhm.
very misguided.
And that's the film where Jason teleports when he
Yes.
goes up the mast. I'm just
Yes. He did it a couple of times. I think even with the guitar kill too, right? Like I
Yeah.
think he was kind of giving chase and then yeah, teleport Jason. Yep.
But like,
So
I think, and again, like that one didn't need to take place specifically at a Crystal Lake. I can understand wanting to change it after
mm,
8 films, but your whole marketing was Jason Takes Manhattan. I remember I was in lived in New York at the
yeah,
time. It was all over the place. Like we
yeah,
talked about, he was on like on Arsenio Hall and stuff
yeah.
because it's this is huge. Jason Takes Manhattan, but then you really dropped the ball. Like,
Oh,
did I want could he have gone storm through Madison Square Garden or something like that? I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, if they had the budget, that would have been cool.
yep, yeah.
Like if I had an
That would
unlimited
have been
budget
cool.
back then, think how cool it would have been to
Uh,
see Jason in Madison Square Garden during the Rangers game.
yeah, yeah.
That would have made the movie.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But the one thing that Manhattan does is the most is it makes you appreciate where it all started,
Mhm.
where it comes from, the
Yeah.
early settings, some of the mid card settings in the films and stuff like that. It really makes you appreciate. Not that we needed that to appreciate them, but when you come back from that and you think of part three, you're like, that's where I want to be.
Mhm.
That's part two. That's cool. Part two, part two also kind of like gave me like remind me of my cottage. I think part two had such a nice green feel to it. I felt
Yeah.
like it was just like, it looked again like, they were training for camps, just the little touches in filmmaking that like, make it so like where they're barbecuing, the weenies and it's things like that, like where they're playing some games, they're playing some cards, they're playing video games in the main lodge, and that
Mhm.
looked fun, man. That looked like, yeah,
Yeah.
again, that was like, that was awesome. Part two, you know, really, really had a great vibe in that. Like again, they looked like they all kind of got along, or they were having a lot of fun, and you wanted to jump right in, and that's
And
the
like I think
magic,
part 2 is the only one to have a campfire of people surrounding like the campfire telling stories.
right? And how classic
That's what I'm
is that?
exactly. That that's classic
Can't.
summer camp horror.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, part 2 did a lot of good things. It warmed up what happened in part 1. It
Mhm,
kinda, it was 5 years later again, like, it looked summery, it looked really fun, vibrant,
mhm,
and then creepy as hell. Like, we're talking locations, the shed, Jason's shed, like, that was, like, in the middle of this beautiful green forest.
mhm,
But, like, that was, like, that's cool. Okay, yeah, he's got to have a place to live, right? He's got or some place to hang his hat, right? So, his sack. So I that was really cool. That was a cool location. I think
mhm,
part two did so many good things. I think with locations, and like even when they're trekking through the woods looking for the dog or
mhm,
one thing and when they're at the beach, when they're all hanging at the beach and there's that, the frog in the blender joke. And that's such a cool touch, right? You're
yep,
just showing them for a couple of seconds at the beach makes the whole world open up, right? Like
mhm,
you believe that they are there. And then the bar is something that we will talk about that in a second. But like one of the things that I liked about part two was that it kind of it seemed to utilize the setting a little bit better,
yep.
more than some of the other, films, and, yeah, I just love it, and okay, so, like, I'll let you talk about the bar because I think we both kinda like that bar setting,
Yeah,
but
it's just again, like I'll say anytime somebody mentions part 2, I will always bring up staying at the bar drinking can save your life because Ted just stays there drinking and it felt like a cool small town bar.
yeah, yeah,
There weren't a bunch of like jock douchebags hanging out, a bunch of frat kids.
yeah,
There wasn't a bunch of like old timers who just sitting there sipping whiskey. There wasn't a bunch of like crappy music playing. It was just like a fun small town bar where you know the waitress, she knows your usual. You're gonna walk up, she's gonna get you your burger and fries and a pint,
yeah,
and you're comfortable, like, and you can flirt with her. There's playful banter back and forth. Locals come in, you hang out with them. It was a fun place to be.
yeah.
I want to go to that bar and have have some French fries and and a
Yeah.
beer.
No, for sure. And it was like one of the things that again, it's how these stories resonate with you. And this is one where like I remember when I was young when Friday 13th Part 2 came out. I was young when we had our cottage and I remember a lot of my older cousins at night would go off to the bar, right? And I was like, where like it was magic to me. Where are they going?
It's magical, yeah.
What yeah, like what they're going out, they're probably having the time of their lives
Mhm.
and where is that? And then Friday 13th Part 2, I got to see it. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's where they're going. I can't wait till I'm older and I'm gonna do
Yep.
that. And it's just like it kind of like, something that sticks with you. It could be silly to, people listening, but you know, uh, you know, it is what it is. I love that. That was a lot
I
of
think
fun.
it all boils down to from all those films and the ones that you and I love so much, the locations we all like, hold near and dear. It's ones that feel real.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I
like not just okay, yeah, that they filmed the movie there, it's a set, but like one, like if I lived there and want to go visit, I could be like, okay,
yeah.
yeah, this feels like a real place where real people could live. And it makes it more realistic. And to me, that accentuates like the feel of a horror movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we move on, is there anything any location that we didn't cover that you want to touch on?
Um, geez.
Listen, they're gonna come up in shows,
Yeah.
subsequent shows, but
One that I did not like was Jason's underground cave in the remake.
oh man, that labyrinth.
That was just it was a little like, all right, Jason's a little that was a little much. I don't hate the film. It's about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mid-range for me, but
I thought it was a cool
like it almost looks like he
idea.
decorated some of it. Like
Yeah, I know. I thought it was a cool idea. I just thought it was a little too elaborate, right? Like
yeah.
it looked like he had some general contractors coming in and excavating for him and stuff like that.
Mhm.
He must have been working on that, like, for quite many years.
He's got
That's an
string lighting
example.
that he tacked up, it's just
Yeah, right. So that's the example that we're saying, like, where in the early ones, you look at his shack, right? That's real. That's like raw and it's like
Mhm.
authentic. And then in the remake, like he's basically, like he's like the Minotaur down there, like, with this like Greek mythology labyrinth
Yep.
with shortcuts and stuff like that. Good one. That was a good point. But what about the RV? Are you gonna talk about the RV? I keep
Oh, see, yeah, the art obviously number 6 is my favorite film, but, I love the RV because 'cause you're playing good old heavy metal music. You got a hot chick with this guy. They're just having fun and just granted, the kill doesn't make a lot of sense when he smashes her face through the side panel, but just the fact that you see it, like, mode to it, I was like, "Okay, that's brutal."
that was
And
funny.
again, another one of my favorite kills. The guy, he's just driving along like, "What are you doing there? Taking a dump?" It's just he's head banging along. It seems he's kind of being a dick and
Yeah.
everything, but and then he just soon as he turns to look at Jason, that knife goes in the side of his head. And how can you not forget Jason standing on the side of the RV as it's catching on fire?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just and one cool thing is when the RV flips, there's a case of beer on the roof that falls off, so you see all these cans of beer goes, flying. The director didn't know about that. They were, like, partying up there on top of it. So,
Really?
that he didn't know that was gonna happen. It was like a case of beer that flies off the top of it, but,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
the
awesome.
RV is
That's
one
a
of
cool
those, like,
story.
satellite locations that just give that little extra spice,
Yeah.
like, to
Yeah.
the movie. Because like, I can see people like, "Well, I don't wanna see nothing but the camp." So it's cool when you have a little satellite station, like
Mm.
like the add-ons you and I were talking about,
Yep.
that
Yep.
really add to it, like the barn, the RV, the bar.
Yeah.
Satellite stations are very important to the
For
franchise.
sure. Like, yeah, for sure. Blairstown Diner,
Yep.
what's his face's outhouse there. Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby, yeah.
Demons
Demons, yeah.
Demons Outhouse, man. That's gotta be an add-on. It's like it's in there. All those things. Yeah, they make the world, right? They make the world, and this is
Yep.
it's Jason's world, and we're just living in it.
Mhm.
All right, so with that being said, we are going to build our dream camp. And Uncle Pete, you're going to go first. And rather than go back and forth, let's just keep the
Mhm.
momentum going. You're going to build your camp, and then
Alright.
we'll ask our viewers to not only build their own camp, which would
Mhm.
be very, very interesting because there's so many moving parts, especially with the add-on. But you can also let us know whose camp you would go to, Uncle Pete's or mine. All right, Uncle Pete, floor is yours.
Okay. I'm going to start with the lake. I got to choose the lake from part one because I love the ending of part one. A jump scare that got everybody. Alice is on that lake. It's crystal clear, nice and smooth. Killer jump scare. That's the lake. That's where Jason was born into, technically. So, yeah, lake from part one. As far as the shelter go, I got to go to Jarvis house from part four. When Ted White as Jason explodes through that door, it's terrifying. It's just like, oh shit, this okay, he's mad now. It's terrifying the way he's
Yeah,
just battling through everything. You got like the wood paneling, it feels lived in, it feels homey. I love the staircase that goes up. When Tommy comes down, Jason, after he shaves his head, Jarvis house is the best shelter for me. Woods, sticking with part four. I love when the Tina and the mom are running in part four, and then the hitchhiker guy who's looking for his sister from part two. It's not lived in woods, but it feels like the forest. Like it feels like this is like I can go camping here. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
just the roads look like real. Nothing is fake. It's not a set. Real leaves on the ground, real twigs and sticks. They didn't have to dress nothing up. They just took the camera and made the shot.
yeah.
Woods in part four is great, especially how close the Jarvis house is to the cabin, is to the woods, to the lake, how it's all connected. Brilliant for me.
All
My
right, so
two
now the
add-ons.
add-ons.
Gotta go with the barn from part three. I mentioned
Nice.
it. That swinging rope scene scared the crap out of me as a kid. The barn still works. It's an iconic scene.
Yeah.
I just love the barn. And wrapping up with one I just finished talking about because you reminded me, RV from part six. It's just a heavy metal blast of a segment. So my perfect camp, Crystal Lake. You got the lake from part one, the Jarvis house from part four, the woods from part four, the barn from part three as my add-on, and my last add-on, the RV from part six.
All right, that's a fantastic list, but you know what's amazing about it?
Mm.
Unlike episode 1 where we had very similar lists, only one of those 5 I agreed with. So,
Okay,
we
cool.
got yeah, it'll be fun. Okay, so my lake is part 2.
Mm,
You don't see it a lot in part 2, but like I said, there's that beach scene where they're down there and it just looks like a nice fun blue lake. Again, the aesthetic of the summer day felt really realistic and kind of hit home with me, so I liked part 2 even if it was just for a little bit. So all right, shelter part 3, the house that burned down. I loved it, man. It looked so fun to me, like, when they were just, like the spiral staircase. It just looked real. It looked like a place I wanted to go. Part 3 aesthetically is like one of my favorites, and again, yet, like as you said, very brown. I don't know why I'm drawn to the aesthetics of part 3, but I am, and that house is part of it. That the fireplace there, just picturing them hanging out, like making popcorn, all that kind of stuff was just, I don't know. It all kind of worked. It reminded me of going away and with some friends, and it just kind of brought it all together there. Honorable mention. I don't know if we didn't say this, but honorable mention to part 1 where they played Monopoly in that place. That was
mm,
kind of fun too. The woods, I'm given to part 1.
mm,
Again, I just loved the dark depth that part 1 had. It had the warmth of summer, even though it was kind of turning, but it had the warmth of summer, but it looked like a real deep north kind of going up north kind of feel, and the ominous woods, and
mm.
and the camp would just, I don't know, just felt like it was completely embedded in it, and I love that. All right, add-ons. Add-ons, I got to go with the barn. That one we agree on.
Mhm,
I'm not gonna say much more on it. I think the barn is. I'd say a lot of people would have this on there, but sometimes maybe you love it or you hate it, because I know
mhm.
part 3 does get a lot of hate as well. So, but definitely the bar. And my second add-on is the bar. I love the bar in part two. Just a parking lot where they're parking, just a quick little shot, and just like sign me up. I'm going there for the night. Like, and I ain't a big drinker, but what the hell? We're at
Yeah,
Camp
same.
Crystal Lake. I'm gonna go for a drink, hang out with Ted for a little bit, and
Mm.
then if I'm smart, I'll stay with Ted.
Yep.
But anyways, yeah, I love the bar. So to sum it up, my lake is part two, my shelter is part three, my woods is part one, my add-on is the barn and the bar. So I only use three films. I just realized that I didn't even go to four or six, which surprises me actually, because I really love the settings of those two films. But yeah, so that's that. So let us know who built the better camp. Whose
Yep.
camp are you going to? You going to Jason's camp, or you going to your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete's camp?
Would anybody choose any location from part 7 and later on? Because
That's a good, yeah,
yeah, you and
yeah.
I
That
stayed the first 6, mostly the first 4. I mean, 90% of our picks are the first 4 films.
That's true. Yeah, that'd be interesting, right? If someone says, "Yeah, no, I like the," well, I don't know what you'd pick from part nine, but anyway, we won't go there. Well, that's locations, and
Yep.
if we didn't cover it all, let us know, and we'll probably cover it in lots of other shows, lots of
Oh, yeah.
crossover with certain shows. But that is it for locations. We will now turn our attention to a fun segment called "If They Survived,"
Yep.
a segment where we take characters and we bring them back to life, so to speak. We say, "Hey, listen, you did survive. This is what happened to them. This is their life after camp." And this is a fun one. We both are looking forward to this segment. We're gonna
Yep.
carry it out in several episodes, and this is the first one. So for this, I have Ned from part one and Melissa from part seven. Uncle Pete, you have.
I had Jimbo from part 4 and Alan Rushak from part 6.
All right. So who are you going with first? We'll start off with you.
I'm gonna go with Jimbo from part 4. So,
All right.
got my little notes here. So Jimbo's search for the corkscrew took him outside. He was on a post-coital haze from his, recent lovemaking. So he couldn't find a corkscrew, so he was going to go to the Jarvis house to see if he can borrow one of their corkscrews against he is able to escape the murder at Crystal Lake. So this gives him a new lease on life. He's like, man, I really had to my life. I don't want to be a dead F. So he's gonna try and show off his new dance skills. He's like, you know what? I had a blast dancing. So he goes on the Gong Show and wins. Everybody loves the way that Jim dances, so he goes on to the Gong Show and wins. It's called the Not a DF dance. Takes off. He becomes a superstar. And he actually becomes a dance choreographer for Madonna and Prince. So he does this for most of
Donna
his
and
life. And in his retirement, Big Jim now is a judge on the new 2026 version of Dance Fever.
that was great. I didn't know he had it in him, but good
Hey,
good for him.
not a DF dance.
No, no, that was awesome. That was awesome. So, I will start off with Ned. Ned is a little bit more exciting but straightforward. So Ned left camp. He was rattled by what happened to him, obviously, and for a few years he recoiled from family and friends, but slowly recovered and went back to college before dropping out. He found his calling. He channeled his pain and trauma and became a stand up comedian. He had some low-level success, and then actually caught a big break. In 1985. He opened for Sam Kinison, and it was then after that Sam introduced him to some people. He tried his hand at acting, and he was kind of floating around in the acting world, but it didn't really do too well. But he did peak. He actually landed 2 episodes of in 1990. He landed 2 episodes of Knots Landing, so
Oh,
that was good for Ned. But realizing it wasn't for him, he decided to retire from acting. And what all great actors that don't find life on the screen do. He started teaching acting. He married in 1996 Kathy, and they have one son and one daughter. And he and his wife still live the married, modest life in Kentucky. Currently, he is writing a book and looking for a publisher, so that could be exciting. And the book is called Little Nettie Goes to Camp. So that's something we got to look forward to. Hopefully, he finds a publisher. Hopefully, he finishes his book. But he's doing well, and he's in Kentucky. So happy for Ned. Happy for him.
Happy for Ned, man. Good
Yeah.
job, Ned.
Yeah. All right. So we move on to Horshack,
Alan.
Alan Hawes.
Yeah, good old Alan from part 6. This one, it's a little bit of a darker turn,
Oh no.
unfortunately. So
Jeez.
instead of hitting Jason on the back of the head with the shovel, Alan just runs and hides when Jason goes after Tommy. He's being a coward. This gives Alan time to escape. Now, he can go back to the sanitarium. That's the last place he would go. He's trying to get out of that place. So he actually hitchhikes to Illinois to visit his cousin, who just so happens to be a member of the Cult of Thorn. His first meeting he attends to, he witnesses a ceremony performed on a baby with the large man with the white mask just watching in the background. So, and also, side note, sorry, I gotta get my notes.
Yeah. No. Take.
So,
Just
on
do.
Halloween, he finds a beaten body with a white mask laying on the floor, and still traumatized by what happened and being influenced by the Cult of Thorn. He picks this mask up and places it over his head and then walks out into the darkness. But a side note on that, now, since he wasn't killed, a body wasn't found in the grave when the grave digger's like, oh, he left it open because the body was actually missing. Sheriff saw this. He calls in the National Guard, who actually tracked down Jason because they know what happened in the past. National Guard corner Jason and they obliterate him into ash. So Jason is actually killed, and
Wow.
Rorschach is a new villain with the shapely mask.
Wow. That took a turn. Okay, that's interesting. That's good stuff. So I guess Horshack or Alan Hawes, running away was the best thing that could happen for Cape Crystal Lake, and
Yeah.
who knew? But
And he's the new Michael.
what is he up to? Yeah, it's kind of we got to watch out for him. All right, so we probably kind of maybe wish he died. I don't know. But anyways, that's gonna happen because we don't know with these people. And Melissa was a polarizing character, very good looking portrayal, obviously, but she was the bitch,
Mhm.
and some of that is represented in her future. So she ended up going home with a broken arm and two broken ribs and no axe in the head, obviously. She tried to return to her job as a retail manager. Oddly, she wasn't too affected by the traumatic experience. I mean, she was handling it, as best she could. I mean, it wasn't a gravy. It wasn't a cakewalk for her, but she continued to model. We didn't know this, but part time before meeting up with the lead guitarist of the hit band Fuselage. The two the two moved to LA, married and divorced 2 years later. She scored big in the settlement and swiftly met a rich businessman who's a high-end real estate investor in the Los Angeles area. They married in 1998. They married in 1998. They had four kids. And while being filthy rich, Melissa matured and she became a prideful mom and was doing very well for herself until the puppy incident of 2006. This one traumatized her even more than Jason. She basically ran over a puppy in her neighborhood while driving her Porsche, and didn't go over too well in the neighborhood, obviously. So she did end up going to therapy, where she then developed an affair with her doctor, Dr. Sam Waxman. It became a scandal because it got out there. Now Melissa's man, he actually was pretty compassionate, stayed with her, But it gets weird now. In 2008, while on vacation in Belize, with her husband, Melissa went missing.
Uh-oh.
And despite a wealthy search, she was never found and is presumed that she had passed away. She has passed away, but still, it's not confirmed. And she leaves behind her husband and 4 kids. So
Oh.
that's kind of it's unfortunate. I mean, it kind
We
of
each
sounded.
had a dark turn and a
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We did. Right? Yeah, a foray into entertainment industry. Um, but this one kind of I didn't even realize it until documenting Melissa's future story. But it kind of mimics Susan Jennifer Sullivan, who plays Melissa. I'm not too sure if you know about this, but
uh,
well, the consensus was she died. I think in 2008,
yeah, I
2009 or
remember
something
from
like that.
Crystal Lake Memories they talked about this, yeah.
Right? Yeah, but then there's also a rumor that she is alive.
Yeah.
Now she has a Facebook page. It's supposed to be an official one, but there is a rumor that she's just alive and she just separated herself from this. So, um, it was kind of funny how that kind of mirrors and anyways, that's what's happened to Melissa. If in future episodes we find out anything more, if like, I mean, it's this happened what 2008, so it's a cold case, but if it heats up, you'll hear it first here on the Crazy Ralph
Definitely.
podcast. And I guess the same thing with Haas because man, that guy's a loose cannon and he's out there. So,
Yep.
um,
I don't know. Cult of Thorns sounded kind of sketchy, so I don't.
yeah, yeah. Usually you throw Cult in front of anything. You could throw Cult in front of an apple and it sounds kind of sketchy, right? Like it's but anyways, we hope you enjoyed this
Yeah.
segment. We have some fun with this one.
Jim
Why
is a
not?
judge on the news. What did I say?
Yeah, yeah.
Dance Fever. Won
That's
the
good
Gong
stuff.
Show.
That's good
For
stuff.
you young guys, if you don't know what the Gong Show is, Jason and I are just old. Just look it up.
Well, we kind of yeah, we had to go with the time frame, right? Like,
Yep.
it's the same thing with me picking, Sam Kinison. It was
Exactly.
the time frame of, when Ned became a stand-up comedian. It's just
Yep.
the way it goes. Anyways, that is it
Yep.
for this episode of the Crazy Ralph podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, and we're gonna kind of up the ante on the next episode. Since we're on the topic of locations, we are going to have a special interview with a YouTuber who has been to 10 out of the 12 Friday the 13th locations. He's going to come on and join and share his stories, and we're looking forward to that. His name is Scott on Tape.
Yep.
If you're not following on YouTube, you should, and you should look up his episodes so when we talk about them, you'll know
Hmm.
what's what. Uncle Pete, any parting words?
No, just appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to let us know what your perfect camp would be. And you heard our takes on if they survived. Be inventive. Throw some comments down there. Have fun with it. Pick a character and say what would happen if they survived. It's
Yeah,
let your imagination run wild and let's see what y'all can come up with.
absolutely. And until next episode, I'll say goodbye, happy camping, and so long.
Later.